For all the ladies in the place.
Come on.
All the ladies in the place.
This is just for me.
For all the ladies in the place. All the ladies in the place.
Good evening, everybody. That's right. Coffee for Your Souls back, episode 23 tonight, and we're going to talk about the election aftermath. You know, we got an amazing show, great guests tonight. I'm here with my boy Kobe. What up? Say what's up, Ted?
What's going on, fam? Fam-a-lam?
Mr. Max, what up, Mr. Maxim?
Hello, everybody.
Abraham Lincoln, what up?
Listen, man, you refer me to that Caucasian one more time?
You gotta give him a new nickname, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta give him his own nickname. You can't give him my own nickname.
All right, so what's up, Avelenche? How you doing, bro?
Man, we blessed, baby. It's been a good week. Had some good conversation with some great people. Got clear my mind on some, you know what I'm saying, got some insight on some things that was going on, and we ready to go, baby.
Okay. All right. So before we bring our guests on, we have an amazing guest tonight. I wanted to kind of start off a little bit about the path that we've been on the last couple weeks here. Make sure you're on mute. I want to go ahead and share. So I'm glad everybody's here tonight. But the first thing I want to do is kind of show example where we're starting from. And I want to make sure everybody can hear this, and we're going to go.
The whole world is watching.
It was the highest voter turnout in decades, which included an unprecedented 102 million postal votes.
The first polls have closed now in more than half the states in the United States, including these key battlegrounds such as
Florida. So what is happening? Well, we can look. It is very tight, but actually leaning towards Donald Trump.
Trump face mask here.
Looks very promising.
And the fact that it's this close, I think, it hurts. It just hurts.
We still feel like we can get over 270 tonight.
here in Washington. There's a big Black Lives Matter protest taking place.
This is a bizarre scene, really, in the heart of the United States Capitol.
Americans are also choosing new governors in 11 states.
Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has retained his seat.
Lindsey Graham will hold on to his seat in South Carolina.
I will do everything I can to stop the radical agenda coming from Nancy Pelosi's house.
Relatively early, we are able to say that we have held the House.
The final polls have now closed and furious counting is underway.
Florida has gone to Trump.
Static. Are you kidding me? I haven't been able to sleep for 2 weeks.
I don't want to count my chickens, as we would say in Texas, before they hatch, but things are looking really good for us right now.
But what is this happening here? Why is Arizona blue?
Are you 100% sure of that call?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, we're not wrong in this particular case.
We feel good about where we are. We believe we're on track to win this election.
Frankly, we did win this election.
Normally, in fact, always, presidents don't claim victory until the results are in.
We want all voting to stop.
It's impossible that Joe Biden is getting more votes than our president.
So we are just being told that this building is now going to close. There are a number of people out there who have been seen with long guns, with semi-automatic rifles.
Dawn has broken here over the White House on a bitterly contested U.S. election where the outcome is on a knife edge.
But Joe Biden is ahead in electoral votes.
We have no doubt that when the count is finished, Senator Harris and I will be declared the winners.
I've already decisively won many critical states.
Okay, here we are again in the unusual position of not only interrupting but correcting the President of the United States.
We have to interrupt here because the President has made a number of false statements.
They continue to count illegal votes.
Hey, Rick Renee, can you talk about the evidence? You are claiming thousands of illegitimate votes here in Nevada. What's the evidence?
You should go in and ask the question of the clerk.
No. Here's the evidence of the fraud.
We've just gotten in some new numbers. Where are these numbers from?
So we just got a big bunch of votes in Nevada, and you can see what they did. Joe Biden's lead has basically doubled.
It does look as though, for the first time in a very long time, the Democrats
candidate is leading in Georgia.
For the first time since polls closed, Joe Biden has taken the lead in the key state of Pennsylvania.
If the president does not win Pennsylvania, he's done. It's an absolute essential state for him.
You know, I think what the president needs to do is, frankly, put his big boy pants on. He needs to acknowledge the fact that he lost, and he needs to congratulate the winner.
We don't have a final declaration of victory yet, but the numbers tell us it's clear. We're going to win this race. We've gotten over 74 million votes. That's more than any presidential ticket has ever gotten in the history of the United States of America.
Donald Trump's political career began with the racist birther lie. It may very well end with a Black woman in the White House.
After 4 long, tense days, we've reached a historic moment in this election.
That former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada, putting him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the 46th president of the United States.
Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, will be denied a second term. That has not happened since 1992.
We did it. We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
Oh, that is our recap. And I wanted to make sure we get everybody on the same page. I know everybody's been watching the news for a while, but we're going to start off by bringing our guest in. Our first guest is Miss Renee Daniela, residing in the UK. She's a travel host and lifestyle blogger, BSN and broadcast journalism from SUNY Brooklyn College, MA in global communications, and the American University of Paris. So, welcome, Miss Renee, to the panel. You're up. Hold on, you still on mute.
Got it. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So I was saying thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it, and that I agree this is such an important topic, and I actually look forward to really hearing what everyone else has to say. And just to clarify for anybody listening, so I live in London. I do have a little bit of an accent, but my mom is from England, my dad's American. But I am an American citizen. I've grown up in America many of years. I did a lot of my schooling here as well. So yeah, just some clarity. But thanks again, guys. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Our second guest is Miss Tiffany Wallace from Brooklyn, New York, residing in Wellington, Florida. She's alumnus of the University of Central Florida. So you know how it is. She got an MBA from UCF, and she's the marketing director of Downtown District in Florida. So welcome, Miss Tiffany. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, everybody. So yes, I am Tiffany. I'm really excited to be here and also hearing everyone's thoughts on this aftermath, or can I say SHIT? What's going on right here? But yeah, I'm just really excited to be here, and yeah, also just happy Veterans Day to any vets that are either joining us for the chat or are on the chat itself. So thank you. Our next guest is Mr. Tyrone Hurley Jr., representing White Plains. What's up, brother? What's up?
What's going on? What's going on? White Plains and Brooklyn in the house. You know what's good. You know, glad to be here. Help Miss Tiffany out. I'm also looking forward to hear about the whole aftermath of this sugar honey iced tea, and we're gonna get down to some good conversation over some great beverages. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So Tata is also a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity in the house. So what's up, serving as vice director for Maryland. He's a writer, gamer, and he's known as the Black History Communicator. So it's gonna be a very good conversation tonight. So that's what's up. Welcome. Our next guest hails from Houston. Miss Dana Tate. She resides in Houston, Texas, of University of Houston alumni, Bachelor of Business Administration. She's a Regional Business Development Officer of South Central Texas and CEO and founder of Love Yoga Therapy. And she's a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Welcome, Miss Dana. How are you?
Welcome.
Hey.
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for this invitation. As the blood definitely been hot, so I am ready to talk.
You don't know how long this conversation was trying to get her on the show, man. It was the longest conversation ever. So it is what it is. But thank you very much, Ms. Dana, for changing your mind. Thank you. Our final guest is Miss Tiffany Wallace. She's from Houston as well. She resides there. She's an alumnus of the University of Texas at Austin. She is a MBA Syracuse grad. How you doing, my sister? You on mute?
Your mic was on mute.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Great. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and have insightful conversation with everyone. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we're gonna jump right into it. So it's been an interesting couple days since Election Day. I know everybody here pretty much voted early or on time. So over 160 million people voted in this year's election. That is the highest turnout ever at this time. And we're here right now. There's a lot going on, a lot of discussion going on. We have a new president-elect and vice president-elect, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and we're here. So, what were your thoughts? Watching that recap kind of brought back stress. Renee, how were you feeling? From your perspective of watching this from the UK.
So I'm actually in LA. I flew back to the US to vote because I wasn't coordinated because of COVID. I ended up moving back to England without planning. So I wasn't really ready for the whole early voting by ballot or mail-in ballot and stuff. So yeah, I was here in LA and incredibly stressful. Oh my gosh. I'm grateful that a lot of the things that we anticipated, like a lot of the aggression we anticipated around, going to the actual polls and what you might face as far as Republicans and white supremacists having any kind of aggression around the polling and voter suppression. I personally didn't experience that, and most of my friends who voted all had fine experiences. It was really easy, actually. Wasn't even a line where I went, which hopefully means they moved so efficiently versus there wasn't as many people. But I will say it was such a stressful experience, and I'm sure I don't speak just for myself, but I love to hear what other people say. But I know when the results were first coming in, obviously they were all quite early, but they were all leaning, quite a few places were leaning towards Trump. And I will say that it was one of those things where you almost felt like, okay, I hoped that it would be overwhelmingly against Trump, but I also realized, and I also took a position of almost just defeat and exhaustion of what we've been through in the last few months, just during this pandemic and just period in the last few decades. So I was almost ready to believe that it's possible that he might have come again and had another and won again. But I was so happy to woken up the next morning and seen all these different states turning blue. That just was insane. I definitely didn't expect Georgia to turn. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
I think we were all a little nervous on election night, and when things were looking very, very close. So that's what's up.
We had our watch party, and we did as best as we could. We thought we were going to get a decision that night, but that was a long night. And we got as far as we could, so that's what we did. But Ty, be it that you went to Howard University, where our vice president-elect went to school as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. What is your feelings, my brother? What is your feeling?
Well, you glitched up a little bit, so I'm hoping you're talking about Kamala being a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and not me. But here's the thing for me, and here's what's very important, and I'm just gonna start with this. If you have a daughter, if you have a young Black daughter, a niece, sister, whatever, what have you, just a young Black girl, you just take them in your hands and you hug them and let them know that the ceiling is now broken. That you can literally tell them now you can be anything you want to be, even the president. And don't even just say vice. Blessed that she's in there as a vice president. But that ceiling is now broken. And much like when we felt for Black men, period, when Obama went into office, we can now put our sisters in there, because we now have a true to life example that a Black woman can be a president of the United States. Vice President of the United States. On top of which, she's a Howard alum. So you know I'm already over the moon about that. She is also a member of a Black Greek letter organization in Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, founded on Howard University's campus, my campus, January 15th, 1908. Shout out to the AKAs. You know, she's also of Indian and Jamaican descent. So we've got Caribbean in there. We got Indian in there. Like, her being in this office has broken so many barriers. This woman broke records the minute she became vice president, you know? So that's something to be considered. Like, we're literally watching Black history. I mean, look at the three things that have happened amongst all the other negativity that's happened in 2020. Look at the three major things that have happened for Black people this year. Number one, the 150th anniversary of the 15th Amendment allowing Black men to vote. Simultaneously, the centennial of the 19th Amendment allowing women to vote. You know, and now third, we have a Black woman in the White House. Amongst the COVID and amongst the negativity and amongst the racism and everything else and the hatred, we have broken barriers this year, and we need to embrace that, bask in that sunlight, and we need to move forward, you know, knowing that the dreams of people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, A. Philip Randolph, Shirley Chisholm, you know, these great people, Angela Davis, these great people, great Black men and women of color, we worked for these moments. You know, we're standing on their efforts for these moments. So we need to embrace that.
Well said, brother. Well said.
All right, Max.
You're on mute, brother.
Mute, Max.
I'll get used to it. Yeah, you know, definitely echoing what my brother just said. You know, having two young Black daughters, you know, very young, but to know that they get to, you know, have that ceiling broken, as he said, and kind of been able to shoot for the star and know that it can happen is beautiful. You know, I like seeing Kamala up there. Kamala. I might have pronounced it wrong. Forgive me. I do like seeing her up there. I think she brings inspiration. Even seeing her speak during the speech, it kind of reiterated the importance of the Black woman in this country, and it was nice to see someone in that venue speaking to that, and the world having to hear that and feel that, and her getting to get that moment to say that. That was beautiful as well. You know, now and outside of that, you know, I still have my eye on Kamala Harris because, you know, at the same time she's, you know, for instance, you know, some of her choices in copyright law and what's the word I'm looking for? Monopoly in California. I'm speaking specifically how when Facebook purchased IG and WhatsApp, she basically didn't pull any reins on that to try to stop that, right? So she's a very corporate Democrat, and you know, I've said here before I was a Bernie supporter. I still, you know, at the same time understand what was necessary for us to get this victory, and you know, I'm hoping that we keep at least the more progressive minds, and I'm not the most progressive mind in terms of my mindset. But I hope that we hold the feet to the fire, because if it's just going to be a return to the old thing, it's not going to please anybody as well, and the Republicans will transform into something again, and it'll be worse than Trump. So you know, Biden and Kamala really have to deliver. First, you know, the orange man has to concede that he lost, so that we can get this government running again. Let us not forget, we have actual posts in the government that have not been filled for like years. Just empty halls and empty offices of departments that aren't functioning properly. Like, I think that's probably the biggest victory here, is that where our country is going to have a functioning government again. Whether or not you're red or blue about it, you know, you want to have people in government. You know, the whole small government mindset, it's very flawed if it thinks that a government does not have a functional role in making sure that people are safe and taken care of, especially in the time we're living in with this terrible disease and pandemic raging right now. Raging. Yep. I mean, you're getting numbers higher than ever. So I think the return to normalcy and possible better governance is definitely it's a breath of fresh air.
Miss Tiffany Wallace, what is your sitting out in Houston opportunity to watch this? What are your thoughts about what's been going on?
Well, for me, I was very anxious the night of the election. I had a feeling that we would not find out the results just because of the magnitude of it. But this election, it wasn't my first time voting, but it was my first time being a little bit more active in my community, making sure that people are getting registered to vote, if they need help with getting to a location, or if they have a loved one that's unable to drop their ballot off. So I noticed that I was more involved this year just because I just wasn't a fan of this administration. Two, I was beyond excited. I'm still beyond excited. The fact that Kamala Harris is now our vice president, and it just shows you the powerfulness of representation. When you see another person that looks like you, thinks like you, someone you will look up to, it's powerful, even as a little girl or even as an older woman. And so it was a powerful moment for women in general, Black women, South Asian women, women of all races and all ages. So very excited. And then three, I have a 97-year-old grandmother. So being born in the 1920s, she's seen the worst of America and the best of America. Mm-hmm. And I remember having a wonderful moment with her in 2008 and 2012 when President Obama was elected. And she never ever thought that she would see a Black man in office. And so I love that I experienced that with her, and then just experience this moment with her again with Kamala Harris. Apologies for pronouncing it wrong. So I'm on cloud nine, but while I am excited and I'm a bit more hopeful, we have to remember that this country is still divided. There is another half that believes differently from the other half, and that's a problem. And I hope, my wish for everyone is to keep up this momentum. Don't let this be the last time that you vote. Continue on in the primaries and your local elections, and also hold this administration accountable. We need to make sure that they do what they say that they're going to do, and we need to make sure that we hold them to it. But I'm very excited. I'm very hopeful, but again, realistic that this country is divided, and that's saddening to me. So those are my two thoughts, three or four thoughts actually.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that feedback. We're gonna pass it on over to you, Miss Dana. Want to get your feedback in the mix as well.
Of course, I'm just elated that to see a woman, one of my sorority sisters, to just come this far. I actually was on Facebook and I saw one of my little Republican followers say that she slept with Joe Biden and had her big picture there in order to become the vice president. And that just goes to show what we're dealing with. I think
crazy.
I think that deeper than the vote itself, this felt like, and it was an urgent stance against racism, racial injustices, the fight against racial injustices and everything that we've gone through. And I think it stood for so much. That's why it was so important this time. And I kind of, this time I had a little shock value. I also have a 19-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter who is very actively involved in the democracy and the voting process and everything. She's very aware and woke. But my son is the complete opposite. Like, he's on another planet somewhere. He's in his sophomore year off at school. And I realized that I had a lot of work to do because he was like, Mom, I don't want to vote. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm gonna kill you. And he goes, I don't understand it. I don't understand the process. And so I realized that I had a lot of work to do. And I think we have a lot of work to do in our homes, because we need to discuss the process of democracy and discuss voting, how it works, and go through the whole thing and how it affects our children so that they understand what it means to them to get up to vote. Because another thing, this time, it showed, if no other time, that every vote counts. Everything you have to. And so I was losing my mind. Like, I wanted to go take my belt and drive to Tennessee to his school and beat him. But I had to check. Because
we're not promoting violence here.
Yeah,
I'm promoting discipline.
Because I know growing up in an African American home, I saw my parents voting. I heard them talking about it, but I didn't understand it. Like when I went to the polls the first time, I was like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? You know, and I think that it's important to have, which we talk about everything else, but we don't talk about these things, and they matter so much. And so that's my take. No, it's long-winded, but yeah.
You know, Dana, I think you make some excellent points, but you know, I'm, as you know, a person who's kind of been in the mix. I'm in the Urban League Young Professionals president here in Austin. What I see a lot, and I had a couple conversations, we traditionally talk about voting in the very much the same way that they talked about it in 1940, 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980. And we do a very poor job of changing the messaging so that it can be received by a different audience, right? And so, for instance, your son was like, yeah, I don't get it. And then when I try to explain it to him, or you try to explain it to him, we're going from our point of view. Well, your ancestors. Well, I don't care. What are you talking about? What about my ancestors? You know what I mean? There's a disconnect there. So that's always an opportunity for us as a collective whole to increase our level of communication that allows people to see where they can feel empowered. And one piece that kind of resonated with you, as well as Renee and Tiffany number two, is I heard this over the weekend, and they said, heal the woman, heal the family. And the reason why I think that resonates here is because America's got a lot of healing to do, and they've abused Black women for a very long time. But if you take the steps to heal, everything heals itself.
That's true.
And this is an opportunity to show, as you all have mentioned, to show like anything can be done, but the healing still needs to take place. It's just a piece, but it's a welcome piece. And it's a piece that's a gargantuan moment. But to the point, we got to make sure that we're following up, because in order for someone to feel empowered, we got to show them that what they do matters and that it can matter. So
that's right. Miss Tiffany, Trini Tiffany, how do you feel about Miss Kamala and the unprecedented victory in having her to be the next vice president-elect of this awesome nation of ours?
I feel pretty happy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still quite anxious. Just even hearing everybody talk, I'm like have a lot of emotions building up. Seeing that video, that compilation was very triggering for me. But I'll take you back to the beginning. So November 3rd was supposed to be like the best day ever for everybody, right? We knew the results was going to come a little bit late, but November 4th was supposed to be like jubilation. Why? Because it was my birthday. Okay. It was my birthday, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a blue win. Okay. That's all I asked for. It came a little late, but it's all good. I think I took the approach of not watching. I did not want to do that to myself. I took the day to just not look at the news, not look at alerts, because I knew it was going to be very contentious, and it was going to be disgusting, and it was going to be lies, and it was going to be a whole bunch of mess that was going to transpire. So I just wanted to, keep my own energy, and then only look at it when it was like official. This process, just like what Tiffany has said, was pretty different for me also. I think we all, as a collective, as a nation, as a world, we knew what we were up against: evil. That's basically what was in the mindset of a lot of people. We need to stop hate, and we need to stop evil. It needs to go away. So I also took it upon myself to step my game up, to be a little bit more involved with registering people, making calls. That was probably really fun for me, making calls to people and seeing if they were registered and talking with them. So that was definitely something different this time around. And there is one thing that I do that doesn't sit too right with me, even though I am like thoroughly ecstatic for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But there was one thing that he had said that and I think a foreign leader had tweeted out, I think it was either Paris or something like that, but they said, oh, great, America is back, right? And I think we kind of mentioned it, I forgot who right now said, we have to kind of remember that we have some ways to go. And that kind of thing, that I don't know why it just doesn't sit very right with me for them to say, oh, great, America's back. Instead, I feel like they should be saying like, America's back on track. Like, because like, it wasn't great ever, or it wasn't good. We still saw people getting killed. We still saw police brutality. So maybe like they can say like, we're picking up the reins where we were, and we're going to be treading up to be better, you know? So that little thing just set me off, but it was tears, like it was complete tears, just watching more so Vice President Harris. That was, I mean, it was just history, and just replaying it back in my head is just such an emotional moment. And it actually brought me back to President Obama, because he was elected on my birthday. So yeah.
You know what? It's funny you said, because it did feel similar when they did their acceptance speeches and they came on stage. I mean, just to see the melanated kids on the stage.
Came out the Mary J.
Yeah, man. You know, it just the vibe felt right. You know, it felt right.
Yeah.
And you know what? We are making progress as a nation, right? We forget how young our nation is compared to the nations of the world. We are a very young nation. We are not only young, we are an experiment. You know, most nations, the people there are from the same exact culture. They all pretty much worship the same. For the most part, they all pretty much eat the same food. You know what I'm saying? We're a mixing pot, you know, in every sense of the word, you know, religion, food, spirituality, all different cultures come to this nation and have made this nation what it is. So we are an experiment, right? So if everyone, for everyone to be on the same page here, it's going to take a little time. You know, we're all American, but being American literally means being, of course, we value our freedoms and all that, but it means being diverse. It means being accepting to your neighbor who looks, you know, may pray to a different God, or may eat a different food, or, you know, definitely may look a different way, you know. So it's a great thing to see that happen, not only this time with a melanated person, but a female and a woman. And you know, it's great. It's great for the nation, I think, as a whole. I think it's great for the world. And you know, Tiffany, you're saying that, you know, I don't know which nation said it, but to say that, you know, America's back, you know, I don't think everyone really digests or fully, you know, understand how much the world started to look at us in a different way because of this president. You know, this president really scared the world and continues to scare the world, to be quite frank. You know what I'm saying? On how he governs, how he carries himself. I don't know if y'all remember in the very beginning, you know, of his presidency, when he went, I think it was one of those G8 summits or one of those summits in Europe, and he literally pushed another world leader out of the way. I mean, he pushed another world leader out of the way for a photo op. I mean,
caused an international incident.
You know, I mean, it's this guy, you know, I don't want to focus on his negativity, you know what I'm saying, to put that in the world, but, you know, it's very good that the nation overwhelmingly said this guy is not fit to be our leader, you know what I'm saying, not fit.
It's funny you say that, right? So I'm gonna pull a little bit of the negative, right? So the one thing that I can say that everybody on this call, voted for Biden, right? But at the same time, for those that did not, right? We understand that 160 million people voted, right? So there's like 72 million people that are out there. And as you saw how in that accepting speech, the speech that he identified that he won, and he was saying that we should recount or whatever, and you say stop the voting, and he had the people. The way he spoke on that podium, it was like he was trying to incite violence, because what resulted was people showing up in Nevada and Arizona surrounding the booths, the voting locations to be there to cause a ruckus. And the problem is, like, that is unheard of, right? And the type of level of disconnect to what everybody has touched. If people didn't think racism thought racism was gone, it's live and well, okay? Because a lot of things is going out there where people making decisions just totally just off base and not even really having intelligent conversation. So it's a lot right now. And I know from my perspective, sitting back and having two boys and watching that, to see them ask the question every day, like who won, and they're having these conversations at 9 and 4 and 9 and 5. It's a point that I want to sit there and see them give them hope again, because I'll never forget the feeling of watching Obama win, because I had moved to DC right then and there. But to see this it felt very similar to what we're talking, that Ty says, like it felt very similar to that point of when that happened. And it's a point right now where it's just not okay. They're in there. To Tiffany Wallace's point, we have to do what we have to do in the community to keep that discussion going on and making sure people are involved. So, with that, Renee, you're from, growing up in the US, but also having the opportunity to live abroad and live in the UK. What was the perspective of watching Trump in the last 4 years from what you've seen?
Gosh, you mean so from when I've been overseas?
Yep.
What I think they think?
Yep.
Honestly, I think it's very similar to what we all think. Like, absolutely just disgusted, offended, confused as to how his behavior can go so unchecked, how he can be impeached but not impeached, how he can have so many transgressions against him, whether it be allegations of rape, all these different things that have come to him that just seem so intense and seem as though they would absolutely require some kind of punishment or to be answered to in any way. This man has had nothing that has stuck to him, and it's I think just confused, generally speaking, confused, and also just counting down for the days that he would be out of office. But similarly, I think what many people experience is that if you're not involved in politics, then in what we've learned now, and as some of you have said, is this incredible voter turnout that we have showed us that every voice does count, but that we have this complete disconnect between feeling as though you have any means of action and that your voice can matter and that you can actually make a difference. And so even in England, things like Brexit, like people just don't think that something so absurd and insane as a president like Trump would happen, or that your country would just vote to leave, the EU the way Brexit happened in the UK. But it was a matter of young people not voting and a lot of older viewpoints taking precedent. And so, I think confusion and the desire for change, and literally so many of my friends stayed up in the UK just to watch the election, and obviously many of them woke up and that was the first thing they tuned into, because the world is really clued into what is going on in the US, and they understand the impact that the politics in America has globally, and that it doesn't just stay here. And even with this kind of podcast today, I remember when Kristen first asked me about it, and then I learned more info on what it was going to be on, I thought about it. And at first I was like, I'm not particularly somebody who, outside of the last couple of elections, even voted beforehand. Like, I mean, obviously I only had a few elections that I could have voted in, but I didn't vote in the first couple ones when I was 18 and whatever those years would have been. But I didn't vote in the first couple ones because I wasn't engaged and I didn't realize the power of it. And I also think I might have been abroad for some of them, but it wasn't until the last couple of elections that I've had a chance to realize the importance of it. And it wasn't until this one that I realized that you have to become knowledgeable. That we can't become political experts overnight, and we can't become activist experts. And, over the last 6 months, I think many people who feel as though they've been a little removed from politics had a lot of anxiety about how do I become an expert and become an activist and become somebody who can create change and who has knowledge on previous policy and all these things, because in so many ways you want to be able to be involved and you want to have an educated opinion and you want to feel confident in the choices that you make and the policies that you support, because you realize that they're so important and you realize that we have been so mistreated as a community of the people of color, as Black people. We've been mistreated on 1,000,001 levels. So I'd love to hear, I don't know what your next question is for everyone, but I'd love to hear like what you guys think is going to happen next, or what you hope to see next when we talk about policy changes and the legal system and seeing, you know.
Well, I'll chime in there because listen to this whole conversation. We just spent a few minutes talking about Kamala Harris and all of her fantastic attributes. She's the vice president. No, we've not talking about Biden one time on this podcast. Think about that.
Yeah, I was actually about to jump in with that, but yeah.
Did you vote for Biden or did you just not vote for Trump?
Right.
And if that's the case, and Biden's a president now, not Kamala Harris, and yes, she should have influence, and it's nice to have her in there, and she's smart, and they work together. They're both senators, you know, and they're both corporate Democrats. And, you know, are they going to get money out of politics? Because I think that's the most important thing. Because if money was out of politics and people were only running campaigns based on what they can garnish locally and through normal means that didn't have to do with dark money in businesses, because Democrats and Republicans benefit from that. So Biden's here, and I'm definitely happier that Biden's in than Trump any day, because Trump was absolutely destroying the fabric of the country. Even now, the man has yet to officially concede. It's never happened in the history. He's eating 6 cheeseburgers as we speak, rolled in a corner of his room. I can't believe it happened to me.
Yeah, and firing key members of his cabinet in the middle of like
because he's always got that shit from his show. You fired triple times, you know. So it's all he knows. But at the same time, the world is looking at us as a mockery. So anyway, I bring up the aspect about Biden to basically say, how do we hold Biden's feet to the fire that he does maintain what he said? Hey, Black people stood up for me and I'll always have your back. All right, what does that mean? You apologize for the crime bill? Okay, that's good of you. You know, whenever people bring up Biden and the crime bill, I'm like, I didn't see Republicans twisting and turning. Oh, that's such a terrible bill for Black people. They didn't give a damn. They voted for it right behind him. So, you know, he's made the change. He's definitely better than the other contestant, so to speak. But
So with that, Max, I'm gonna Tyrone, I want you to touch on that because I think you were about to hit that before. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I was gonna go right into that, Max. So I appreciate the alley-oop right there, and for Renee, you know, I kind of felt, you know, just a quick sidebar, as we were going through this in America, I also kind of felt, you know, the UK is kind of going through the same thing with Boris Johnson. So I continue to pray for the UK as well. But one of the questions that was asked, one of the things that Renee mentioned was that a lot of young people didn't vote when it came to Brexit. And Max is saying, you know, where does it go from here? Because yes, Biden is the president. So we all know that when we don't look at our history, we are destined to repeat it. And I know folks said it felt like Obama when Biden got elected. But subsequently, here's what happened after Obama got elected. You know, the Republicans had the Senate. And then when the primaries came up for your congressman and your senator, a lot of us Black people didn't get out to vote. Prime example is Maryland. Maryland has always been, and more than likely, God willing, always be a blue state. However, we have a red governor. And I honestly believe that is because a lot of us don't go out and vote for our local. With that, we seem to have this premonition, as we had with Obama, that with Obama in office, things are going to get better. Things are going to improve. And what we saw is that while there were a lot of changes under the Obama administration, great changes, there were still some things that hadn't changed. For example, we're still getting killed. Black people are still getting killed in the street. You know, there are still, you know, Trayvon's and George Floyd's and, you know, and Eric Gardner's, you know, and Sandra Bland's still happening in the US, you know. So I think if there's any lesson that we need to learn from the Obama administration to Trump to Biden is we need to look at how we got here. And one of the things is that we cannot take the pressure off. Okay. Prime example, I'm still looking for Biden to do what he said he was going to do on July 18th at 3:15 p.m. when it came to student loans. I haven't forgotten.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I know a lot of us haven't forgotten that. So, and I know a lot of people on social media made memes and jokes about that. But the thing is, those are the kind of things we need to do. We have to remember that once these folks are in office, they're in the ultimate position of service, not in the ultimate position of power. We voted them in. So what we can't do is sit back, and this is not just as people, but as Black people, we cannot sit back and relax just because we have who we want in office. There's still a Republican, and it's not just, I'm trying to keep it, an all of us versus just Republican and Senate. But here's the thing. Democrats, we like to compromise a lot, and Republicans will hold their own. And even if it's wrong, they'll stand together and hold their own. They blocked every Supreme Court nomination Obama put in, but we're looking for all of us to come together and give folks a chance when they put their people in. You know, the same senator, the same majority leader that made it a point to state that he was going to block every nomination that Obama brought in has retained his seat and is still there. So they're still in a position to cause trouble. And what we as Black people, as citizens, Black, white, and different, all those 75 plus million people that voted for our president and vice president-elect also need to hold him, Biden and Kamala and the Senate and the House to the fire for the things that they have promised and what we want. We cannot take the pressure off, because when we took the pressure off and everything was good, we started noting subtle changes, and then the racists and the racists and the bigots all started peeking their head out once this overweight, orange-faced, two-pair wearing, sexual abuser came out of New York and started spewing the things that they like to hear. And here's the thing, as much as a lot of that stuff he said was very disgusting, one of the things that I think got him to where he was he promised to cut out the political BS. What he said he's going to do. And a lot of people listened to that because a lot of people were tired of promises being made and promises not being kept. And while we sit here and we spew what we don't like about this dude, because I am so not a fan of this dude, there are things that he said he was going to do, albeit negative, but he did get it done because he had I have a question on that. So in that process and what you said is very valuable because it is about holding accountability. And I think Tiffany touched on it earlier. Tiffany Wallace, what is your angle and thought about what we need to do as a community to allow our opportunities and votes to continue to count, to allow the president and vice president to execute what they said they're going to do?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think it's two things. One is continuing educating ourselves. I believe that a lot of people were learning a lot of things for the first time just with our entire democracy system. And then two is holding people accountable, starting from your local office all the way up, even your employers that you work with. So one thing that I feel like, I don't want to say good, that has come out of the last couple of years, I'm starting to see more corporations recognize the inequities that are going on in our communities, and they are starting to voice that and take action. Not all organizations, but a lot of them are starting to have those conversations. So I think that is key. And what was the other part of your question? I'm sorry. I know it was two parts.
Just get to the point of accountability for us to do what we have to do in the community so that we can ensure that President-elect Biden and President-elect Vice President-elect Kamala have the ability to be successful in their time.
Well, yeah, it's just use that same momentum that you had to voting and wanting to get Trump and his administration out. Use that same momentum in the next election, educating yourself and calling your representatives and having these conversations with your communities, your community leaders, your group, your circle of friends, even on social media, is having these conversations. Even if you have a conversation with one person, that's progress, because maybe that person will have another conversation with someone else. But again, it's just accountability and education, to me, are the two things that we can do. And
Tiffany Trini Tiffany, my question for you is, like, I know you were kind of shocked. I know I was shocked that I knew Florida was going to come down to the wire. We've had your Sarah, Miss Nikesha, on here before, so she's been here and she kicked. But what were you seeing down in Florida? That what did you see that was different this go around for the election with Biden and Kamala down in Florida in the Palm Beach area?
Honestly, I really can't pinpoint it. Oh, sorry, my dog. I really can't pinpoint it, honestly, because I would say in Palm Beach we're not as like riled up. Like South Florida, they're like really riled up. Especially the Caribbean community was really engaged. But I think. I can't really put a finger on it, but I would say that everybody was absolutely 100% correct on the other elections, that we don't really have the voter turnout. And I know that everybody was really focused on the presidential and getting Trump out and maybe not going down the ballot and really selecting items that needs to be, that's also important, very important. And I think it comes down to what I think LT was talking about with messaging. And I want to say that that's probably one thing that Trump did get right, and again, against him, but he had some points that got him people on his side, and it was truly simplistic messaging. And I think once we get that message out that is very simple to the root, if a child can understand it, that's the messaging that needs to go through the communities and for people to understand what's at stake. Yeah, if they do this, this is what's going to happen. Not no legislation, this XQ dot blah, 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 blah. It needs to be very simple, getting it out into the community. And that is what is going to definitely get people more involved and really riled up. And it's going to come about again and again, but obviously Georgia is on cue.
It's funny you said that, because I think Georgia shocked me just to see that and to know that, Stacey Abrams, her campaign when she was running for government, that was stolen from her. And if anybody hasn't got an opportunity to make sure they check on Netflix and watch All In about her campaign and what they did and all the things that's what's in Georgia's laws of how they started this process in the state of Georgia years ago till now. So I think that's very important. So check that out, All In. Miss Dana Tate, when it comes to what you've seen in Houston and your involvement, I know it's your Sarah, but what are the things that you were looking for with your candidate? And not just because she's Sarah, but you want to make sure that she Biden connects to for the success of this country. What were you looking for?
I would say for him, the whole COVID thing has affected my family in a great way. Me personally with work, I'm having to move from one place to the next. I have a child in college. I have another child who just finished college. They're ready to go and ready to run. We've been stuck in the house. I mean, I voted for him for many reasons, but I really felt like President Trump kind of laughed at this COVID thing, and my whole life has changed drastically from it. I also feel like, again, having a 19-year-old son, I need not to have, I'm afraid. For me, I've never really, I don't know if I've just kind of been in la la land, but I don't walk around. I'm just kind of carefree. I don't deal with a lot of racism that I'm aware of until just recently, until they all just got crunk and came out of nowhere. I think partially it's because I'm female. I think it has a lot to do with many, many aspects. But now, like, I run. I'm afraid to go outside to run. I'm afraid for my son to leave. I feel like President Trump, they exchanged the white deal for the red cap. Like, it's all the same. And then I feel, so for me, there was just no question. It really, Kamala was a bonus. She was a complete bonus for me. That was like, yes, come on, Black woman, soror, let's get it, let's do it. I think she's very smart. I mean, I've looked at her career along the way, and I think that she has what it takes. Texas is a different beast. Like, Texas is a different beast. I'm from San Antonio initially, but I've been in Houston for over 20 years. And we were where the whole bus, where the Trump supporters blocked the bus.
Yeah, that was
like,
crazy.
It goes down in this place. So for me, I need them to take the hoods and go back into hiding. I was more comfortable with that. I'm afraid for my son. Like, I can't even make, you hear people say it all the time. You have no idea what it feels like for a mother, especially a little boy. He's a musician, so he's got the dreadlocks. He's got the pants. I'm always like, pull those pants up. He's got the chain hanging from the pants. And I mean, I'm like, what did I do wrong? When he opens his mouth, he is the most, you have to look twice to see what color he is. But nobody's gonna wait for you to open your mouth. They're not gonna wait for that. And so now I feel like my reasons, and especially being here in Texas, I was so proud of H-Town for getting it. At least we got it right here. Well, Antonio, Austin, Dallas, actually we all got it right. It was just the podunk places that, hopefully, and I do know that by the time my children are of age, I really believe things are going to change, because my kids and their generation, they were just not having it. They are not having it. They are not having the racism. They are not having it. So I think things are going to change. But for me to answer your question, it's scary. And I needed, like, when they won, I took a moment and I just sat and cried, me and my daughter together, because it felt like a weight was lifted off. Like, maybe we'll stop this COVID thing. Maybe we can all have life again, at least, soon at some point. Like, he's throwing it to the wind like, it's not a big deal. I mean, everything is a joke. We had a clown in the White House to me. Like, he was a joker, like a total clown. And I just feel like now I can breathe. And I have something that my daughter, I literally turned over to her and I go, you're going to be next, girl. And we're going to be
It's funny you say that, because as we're getting ready to close down, so before we close out the show, I'm going to go around the horn to ask this question. And I'm going to start off with you, Tiffany, first. Tiffany, what would you like to leave our viewers with tonight, after the aftermath of the election, in your opinion and thought?
Oh boy. I would say just stay hopeful and don't let anything really get to us. I honestly was expecting an uproar after the election while still going on, but I'll just say, like, just stay hopeful and just get involved. That's really it. Just get involved and stay hopeful.
Ty, what do you like to leave our viewers with tonight?
We have lessons to learn. Do not be so naive to think that racism no longer exists and that it's going to be paradise now that we have these two people in office. Do your research to know what you're voting for. Vote in your local primaries and at state and local officials, because our president and vice president-elect cannot do it if they get opposition within the Senate and Congress. So we as Black people can't just vote for what's popular. We also have to vote at what affects us closer to home as well.
Kobla, what would you like to leave the viewers with tonight?
Yeah, Dana made a good point. She's like, "Oh, I had a sigh of relief," and this is just like a workout. The workout's still coming. We got to work out the next day, so you can catch a breather right now. But we got to hit on these weights. We got to do this cardio. I think LT and various people have made the point. Like, you'd be surprised how many votes it takes for very small elections to move things in cities. For instance, in city council in Austin, 1,400 votes to become a city councilman, 1,700 votes to become a city councilman. But the city council has big priority and big work in Austin, and it's the capital of the state. So you can never underestimate how much power you have. One thing that I mentioned one time on a call is, like, we got to get the little wins, the small wins. Like, put a stop sign on the corner, and everybody sees, oh, we got the stop sign? Yeah, we got the stop sign, bro. Oh, put a speed bump over there. Oh, we got the speed bump? Yeah, we got the speed bump. Oh, they cut the grass in the park? Yeah, they cut the grass in the park. How you do that? Oh, no, we just went down and talked to them. And then people are like, oh, we could do that? Yeah, we can do that. And then all you do is roll that into bigger and bigger things. But it's small. You got to start small first. We always look at this thing so grandiosely, and we're like, President, I don't know what we're going to do now. You know what I mean? I don't have any effects at that. Yes, you do. Yes, you most certainly do. You'd be surprised, as I've mentioned before, a squeaky wheel gets the oil. If one person just goes down there and we tag team it, and Dana's like, hey, could you go to City Hall on Tuesday? Yeah, what time? 2:00. And just go in there and talk, you'd be surprised what things get changed just by the presence of someone looking like you standing in the room.
Miss Renee, what would you like to leave our viewers with tonight?
Now I'm learning how to unmute properly. You know what? I feel like in the last 4 years, and especially in the last 8 months, I think the level of fear and anxiety has reached a level of almost, it could be crippling. It can just breed toxic energy in your communities, that it can fester in different ways, whether it be in your business as well as politically, but as well as your mental health and just your physical health, and in so many other ways. And I hope, as I felt so much relief, and some of you have echoed that joy and relief on election day, just simply to know that he's out, and that even though we saw more people than we expected still vote for Trump, we saw how much our community stood up and the power that had. And so I just hope that that anyone listening to this, and maybe you pass it on to your friends as well, just that sense of like, realize how fear and anxiety can change the path in your life and like where you go, and do your best to kind of capitalize on joy, on your passions, on positivity. Try to spread that as much as you can, and let that inspire you to have more audacity, to have more of a stance, to really have some more power in your voice, and understand that like you absolutely deserve to have your rights heard, to have your voice heard, and to have your rights, and to have the access that you need and the resources that you need, and that us as a community, that we deserve all of that and more. And just to be mindful of that energy, and to hold on to the joy in our community, because we have so much joy, and we are just so beautiful and resilient as a people. And I love that most about us. And so that's just really what I want for all of you, for all of us, and anything.
Okay, thank you. Miss Wallace, what would you like to leave our viewers with tonight? Mind you, before you respond to that, I just want to let you know we broke the internet. We broke YouTube because YouTube is down. So we've lost all the we've lost viewers as we were going through the show. So I'm going to replay this joint, but we broke the internet. So Tiffany, what would you like to share?
That's awesome to hear. My thing, I'm just big on education. Educate yourself. Go online, go to the library, read a book, and understand what are your rights, understand what voter suppression is and what it means. And then also educate yourself on your local community. Who are your leaders? Who's running for office? Understand what causes they're going for, and does it align with what you want? And also our younger generation, we do not underestimate the power that they have. Even if they're unable to vote now, start educating them, having these conversations with them now, because before you know it, they'll be able to vote. And let's empower them to be able to make those decisions when it comes to voting and electing our leaders. So education, and start empowering our younger generation, because what happens, the decisions that are happening now are going to impact them as they grow up. So those are my two things. And also just make sure you take care of yourself, mind and body too, because this election has caused so much anxiety personally for me, And the importance of taking care of yourself is huge. So I know, Renee, you touched on that earlier. So make sure you take care of yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually as well.
And if you need, and because you're in, and you need to go to a yoga studio, Love Yoga Therapy is available. You can follow her at Love Yoga Therapy on Twitter as well as Instagram. Here's a plug. There we go. Avelenche, what would you like to leave the people with tonight?
You know what? Same thing. We have to stay involved. It starts at home. We got to start at home and our friends and our the people right around us. You know, while you're talking about the game or you're talking about whatever latest thing that you want to talk about, just make sure that you bring up just a little bit of politics, just a little bit of, you know, there's a community meeting or town hall. Maybe, you know, let's go check it out. Start at your homeowners association. If you a little intimidated, start there. Just to get used to dealing with the politics of governing. You know, don't give up your power, man. Kobler always talks about we have power. You know, in numbers we can go and we can make a difference. It's true. It's true. We can make a difference in that. You know, I always get a little bit. You know, I play devil's advocate, and I always talk about, you know, the outside interests, how strong they are, and how they influence our government. And that's a fact. They do. But that's because we don't get involved to counter them, right? So they have the money, but we have the numbers. So we have to start bringing those numbers to the table. And last but not least, I wanna, you know, Madam Kamala Harris, I want to say, you know, congratulations. It's awesome what you're doing. Listen, what she's gonna do is yet to see. You know, we'll see, right? But the fact that she's just inspired a whole world of individuals is awesome to me. And last but not least, I want to give her a major shout out for choosing a Haitian, Miss Colleen Pierre, to be her chief of staff. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what's up. We got a Haitian. You already know.
You got a Zoe, huh? Maxim, what would you like to leave the viewers with tonight, brother?
You know, echo everything, get involved. The only reason this election didn't go the other way is because, you know, you couldn't be on YouTube or on any medium and not see something leading you left or right. But, you know, at the end of the day, this was a success for the country. You had a lot of people vote on both sides, very strong, polarized views. Fortunately, the views of the other side, many of them turned a blind eye to what is, to say the least, un-American, at least as we call, you know, what we aspire to be Americans, un-American behavior and mindsets about each other, about our neighbors. So, you know, we feel like that's done, but half of the country has they were willing to turn a blind eye and walk in lockstep right behind a man who was spitting vitriol and hate and division, and they were happy to do it. The pocketbooks are good. Are you really? You know, you're not part of that top percent, but, you know, how they come and walk that back, I don't know. I know that we have two politicians that are in office now. Biden, once again, what are you about, Biden? He looks like grandpa. He's, you know, going to bring the country together around some eggnog around the tree. What are you going to do, Biden? I want to hear some real policies. Kamala Harris, again, that's a beautiful thing. I like to see my sister up there. I'm telling you, I saw her up there. I'm like, look at that girl. Look at her. It felt good to see her. I really do. But at the same time, they're politicians. Because, you know, Obama wasn't Black Jesus. She won't be Black Mary. You know, these are seasoned political, you know, influences in government, senators. You know, we have to hold their feet to the fire. You get the government you deserve, especially if you don't get involved. And to everyone's point, you start local, you start small, but you pay attention to what's going on a little bit. I think the Trump years have taught people who never thought they would be political to know what the hell, you know, a chief of staff is and who Mark Meadows is and, you know, aspects of impeachment processes. I know too much about politics. I don't want to know about politics no more. I want to get back to normal. But at the same time, I'm happy to have my eyes open enough to care a little bit more. I think that's, that has to spread. We got to continue to Avalanche's point. Drop a little politics in there. Try to make sure you know your audience. Don't get it too heated. Keep it light. See where it goes. I think as long as you maintain the respect and you speak truth to power, or even truth to no power, but to the ignorant, you know, you could be changing one mind, and that can be enough. Because there's a lot of stupid people out there.
Thank you, brother. Miss Dana, last guest. What would you like to close it out with? And I just want to be mindful. Miss Dana was very she doesn't like being on this stuff. So I was able to finagle her to get on here. So I thank you very much for doing so, and you've done a wonderful job. So thank you very much. So close us out, boss lady.
I would just say that it's important that we don't stop now. People are under the guise that the presidential election is it. While it is it, I think we need to be vigilant and very actively involved in the congressional, the state, and the local elections. And I think that it's so important because people are like calming down now. Like I'm even calming down now. Like I really don't even want to talk about this stuff. I'm so drained. Like I am really mentally, physically like drained. I was up. I felt like the people on CNN. Like I just stayed up all night watching, going from station to station. Like I'm tired. I'm just ready to breathe. But the truth is that we can't breathe. If we want to see change, we can't breathe. We have to stay actively involved. We have to still talk the talk. We have to still walk the walk. This isn't where it stops. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm
better come out and represent for your source.
I just want. Oh, here we go. All right, hey, hold on. So, we're about to close out the show, but I think everybody touched on very good topics of how to be involved. So there's nothing for me to repeat, but I just want to say thank you, Miss Tiffany, Trinity Tiffy. Thank you very much. LT, thank you. Miss Renee,
no doubt,
Miss Dana. And Miss Tiffany, thank you very much for doing this as well, Miss Wallace. So we appreciate you. And with that, I want everybody to say coffee. Don't leave, but everybody say coffee for your soul.
Coffee for your soul.